7,897,044,450 people live on our planet. Oh wait, one more was just born. No, 2, 3, no, 4. You know where I'm going with this. From this growing number of people, 1% is 78 million. 1%. I don't even know the 1% of the 1%. In fact, even Mongolia, the country, can't make 1% of the population. We merely know at most 15 people personally, and that's even stretching it. However, with knowing less than what can only be described the crumb of the world, we refuse to understand, accept, and respect one another. Why? Good morning, afternoon, and evening to everyone. My name is Enkhrillen, and today I just simply want to say everything's okay. If not, everything will eventually be okay, because as we know it, it never goes as we say, that all we could do is wait for the unknown to be brighter and easier than how things are now. Through this speech, I want to show the importance of the little things in life, specifically the emotions we feel. Through what I'm about to say, you'll see how emotions and surprisingly thoughts build up to become mental health issues, ultimately answering the majority of the world's biggest and fundamental issues. I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. Martin Luther King Jr. Tonight in this election, you, the American people, reminded us that while our road has been hard, while our journey has been long, we have picked ourselves up. We have fought our way back, and we know in our hearts, for the United States of America, the best is yet to come. Barack Obama. During my lifetime, I have dedicated myself to the struggle of the African people. I have fought against the white domination, and I have fought against the black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all people live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal for which I hope to live for and see realized. But if needs be, it is an ideal which I am prepared to die. Nelson Mandela. Why were these speeches so impactful? Why were they deemed the best speeches of all time? How did they not only move people, but revolutionize society? When it comes to speeches and conversations, it is extremely important that the audience and listener connects and understands what you're saying. With that being said, let's talk about the importance of time. Martin Luther King Jr., Barack Obama, Nelson Mandela made the most outstanding speeches of not only their time, but of history. Why? They made speeches for people that needed to hear all the reasons to have faith, hope, that had passion, that related to their struggle. Martin Luther King made his iconic speech during the civil rights movement. Barack Obama's speech was his victory. Nelson Mandela's "I am prepared to die" speech was given in trial, speaking volumes for every belief he shared with the world. The point I'm trying to make is that all 3 speeches had an audience that related and were in the same mental state as them, which is why time is so important when it comes to opening up. As the content of Martin Luther King Jr., Barack Obama, and Nelson Mandela's speeches spoke to the struggle of their audience, I believe it's pivotal that we address the most important and basic problem of all, mental health. Just imagine if Barack Obama made his speech in the early 1900s. Would his speech still make the same amount of impact as it did during 2008? As you would imagine, everyone goes through a variety of emotions and states of mind throughout their days. So when conferences and speeches are talking about the future that none of us could predict, or how to be the best version of yourself and the success that one could make without the audience connecting and relating to what the person is presenting, no one could understand the content of the speech at its fullest potential. I had so many ideas for this TEDx. However, I realized everything I wanted to talk about was so off reality that when I took a step back to absorb all of my ideas, it literally felt like I was going to give a speech about a fairy tale. I obviously can't say anything that would relate to every single human being on the planet in that very moment they're listening. However, I can say something that could help someone someday cope through feelings that they don't know how to understand or deal with. I am one to know, as coincidentally, I myself went through one of the most miserable, exhausting, sad moments in my life. And as a teenager, I'm sure you could just jump to conclusions such as, oh, you're just going through a phase, or since I'm a girl, I'm on my period. Something along those lines. But let's be real. For you to be feeling utterly sick and terrible, you don't necessarily have to be 16. It's fair to say that the world throws you the most unexpected things at the most unexpected time. So whether you're 6, 16, or 60, we all go through countless emotions. So if we go back, let's say 5 to 6 months, I was going through this awful period in my life, right? But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't explain or put to words why I was feeling the way I was. Only to realize all of the emotions were building up since my first misstep. Let's emphasize on the building up of emotions because it's crucial to know why mental health issues come about. I'll explain this further in my speech. So back to my misery. After a long, rocky road, I finally, and when I say finally, it's actually getting worse, so don't get your hopes up. I finally stumbled into this deep, dark, and steep hole. And in this hole, I spent a good half year climbing, then falling really hard. Then eventually I even started digging a deeper hole than before. During this time, so much had happened externally. And to be honest, my internal feelings were also a complete mess. And when things are as worse as it is, it only goes downhill from there. I knew there were people who I could trust, who I could open up to, but I think I speak for a good portion of the audience when I say that you feel like you're hurting yourself more by opening up. This is exactly how I felt, and it's safe to say I never truly found that person who truly understood how I felt. Although, I did find a way to crawl out of that nightmare of a hole. Let's save that for later, and you'll find out soon enough. Now remember how I mentioned the building up of emotions, how it's crucial to understand where these flooded emotions come from. Well, on a more factual note, Harvard Health published that at some point, nearly everyone encounters stressful life events. The death of a loved one, the loss of a job, an illness, or a relationship spiraling downwards. Some must cope with early loss of parent, violence, or sexual abuse. While not everyone who faces these stresses develop a mood disorder. In fact, most do not. Stress plays an important role in depression. Continuing on to state, stress has its own psychological consequences. It triggers a chain of chemical reactions and responses in the body. If the stress is short-lived, the body usually returns to normal. But when stress is chronic, or the system gets stuck in overdrive, changes in the body and the brain can be long-lasting. From this, the two endings stood out the most to me because it practically gives me the answers that I needed from a scientific perspective. It shows from a valid and statistical point that I wasn't totally insane for the way I was feeling. There was also a part which disclosed that it's a chain of chemical reactions and responses in the body and how one mental health issue plays a role for another. The word chain is really important to understand because people, including myself, tend to come to conclusions that stress, anxiety, depression all have to come from this huge event in life, which obviously could occur. However, in mental health, there are many factors, and one huge factor happens to be the building up of emotions. People overlook and ignore this fact because society and the world requires you to be strong, as it is a cruel world out there. However, this only creates a deeper problem. People need to really understand beyond their experience and society standards. As stated in multiple resources, there's no single cause of depression. It can occur for a variety of reasons, and it has many different triggers. When I say understanding beyond one's experience, I don't mean you have to agree with everything the other person is saying. Just absorb what has been said. By shoving our feelings down just to appear strong for people we probably don't even care about is just not idealistic. Yet we still hide underneath this mask. Now, the mask is needed for a solid week or so. I mean, we're still the same creatures as before, right? But eventually, we do have to take them off. The mask has many representations, such as embarrassment, disappointment, anger, sadness, broken heart, frustration, you name it. However, rather these representations being a reflection of what you're feeling, it is more over what you are trying to avoid feeling or have that people feel that way towards you. For example, I was terrified to open about my anxiety and depression because I thought I would seem pathetic in front of my peers or disappoint my parents, be judged by people because I have privileges that others don't. This is what my mask represented: shame for having emotions. Your mask could be completely different, but nonetheless, we all have one. As you could see, everything I just stated was to avoid people's judgment. I mean, who isn't, right? Though, why are we wired to fear from others' opinion when merely 99% of people have no clue of the events that take place in your life? Not only that, but mental health as a subject is a huge problem. In fact, studies show that almost everywhere in the world, mental illnesses are taboo. A misunderstanding that is common is that mental health problems don't only constitute of life issues. There are faulty mood regulations by the brain, genetic vulnerability, medications, and medical problems. As you could see, the things I just listed are all extremely serious. So why does society have such contradicting values and norms when it comes to mental health? Mongolia is a great illustration for this. Therapy, psychology, psychiatrists, and counselors are not something that's developed here. And having a mental health issue is definitely not a concern, because it's idealistic for you to cope through it yourself. In many cases, Mongolian parents just seem to never accept that their children might have mental health issues. As I mentioned before, people fail to understand everyone is going through certain types of emotions, no matter their age, status, and gender. So parents will conclude to stop using your phone. Have you been watching too much TV? Anything that's completely irrelevant to what's actually going on. Now, as like any other situation, everything has its two sides. In a way, being taught to look at hardships through a more straightforward way, it's simpler for us to cope with. In cases such as mine, where it wasn't severe enough to be an illness. However, overlooking something as important as mental health should not be an ideal. Without mental health, there would be no health. So, with a little bit of statistics, research, and personal experience of living in society and simply being alive, I honestly do not have a conclusion. Emotions and feelings are tailored to a person's life, and for me to conclude that you must cope this way or tell you how to feel would solely negate my speech. For the 15 minutes I have, it was my goal to inform, not change the opinions of my audience, especially because I know no matter what topic it is, but more so because my topic is what it is, personal and untraditionally philosophical, a conclusion plainly does not work. It is important as human beings to accept one another, whether you understand each other's situations or not. It is crucial that we simply just accept the versatility our world has. There are numerous topics that need to be discussed. However, when it comes down to it, mental health is the key to every problem because we refuse to agree, to understand, and most importantly, we live to satisfy others only to never reach the fullest potential of anything. Imagine if every race, gender was accepted and respected. Imagine if every problem was solved from both sides of the argument. Imagine if we realized that we are all just humans after every layer of life, achievements, stumbles, and backgrounds are off the table. This leads to the end of my experience with anxiety. Yes, I did try so hard to climb back out of the hole, which I dug, by the way, let's not forget that. But I also did work my ass off to find my way back. Nothing changed within the time span of everything that happened. However, I tried to understand myself, and that is the key to my speech. If we allow ourselves and solely ourselves to focus on how we manage our feelings and thoughts, we will successfully and with ease achieve to understand not only ourselves but others, and in time, entering our empire states of mind. Thank you.